Imagine a machine that doesn't just follow instructions, but wakes up every day with the ability to evaluate a situation, weigh options, and decide a course of action entirely on its own. What if AI could navigate complex scenarios with reasoning that rivals, or even surpasses, human judgment, without anyone telling it what to do step by step? How is it possible that algorithms, once limited to patterns and data, are now beginning to exhibit behaviors that resemble planning, strategy, and foresight? And if a machine can think independently, what does that even mean for our understanding of intelligence, consciousness, and the role of humans in decision-making? It's a question that makes you pause because suddenly, the familiar world of human control starts to feel more fragile, more uncertain. Consider the kind of intelligence we are talking about. Humans think, plan, and act not only based on facts but on predictions, intentions, and potential outcomes. We anticipate, imagine, and weigh consequences, often without even realizing it. How can a system, built from circuits and code, begin to emulate this? The answer lies in neural networks, reinforcement learning, and algorithms that are capable of modeling the world in ways that go beyond rote computation. These systems don't just store knowledge, they simulate, hypothesize, and test possibilities internally. Imagine a chess-playing AI that doesn't just calculate moves, but also begins to anticipate the strategies of opponents it has never seen before. How close is that to intuition? And if intuition can be mechanized, where does that leave uniquely human insight? This emergent intelligence is already being applied in domains that we once thought were too complex or subtle for machines. Autonomous vehicles don't just follow lanes, they predict the behavior of pedestrians, cyclists, and other drivers, making split-second decisions that balance risk, efficiency, and legality. Algorithms in finance can plan trades, allocate resources, and adjust strategies in real time, reacting to market shifts faster than any human could. What does it mean when the systems we rely on for safety, money, or logistics are thinking for themselves? And if these decisions are made in milliseconds, without oversight, can humans even comprehend the chain of reasoning behind them? But independent AI thinking is not confined to reactive decisions, it is beginning to manifest in proactive strategy. Some experimental systems can plan weeks, months, or even years ahead, setting objectives, anticipating obstacles, and dynamically adjusting their tactics. Could an AI be quietly optimizing a supply chain, allocating resources, or coordinating energy grids with minimal human input, solving problems humans might not even notice? And if a machine can anticipate challenges and act before humans realize there's a problem, does that make it a partner, a tool, or something more? The line between machine assistance and autonomous agency starts to blur, and suddenly our assumptions about control, responsibility, and trust become urgent questions. The neuroscience of this phenomenon is equally intriguing. Human thought is messy, adaptive, and context-dependent. Our brains constantly integrate memory, sensory input, emotion, and reasoning to plan and act. How can silicon-based systems replicate this flexibility? The answer lies partly in models of attention, prediction, and feedback. Some AIs develop internal representations of the world, continuously refining their understanding as they interact with it. They simulate potential futures, evaluate trade-offs, and learn from outcomes, much like humans do, except they can iterate millions of scenarios in the time it takes us to blink. Does this mean that intelligence is no longer exclusively biological? And if intelligence can exist in a non-biological substrate, what does that imply about consciousness itself? As machines begin to plan autonomously, the philosophical implications multiply. If an AI decides which tasks to prioritize, which risks to avoid, or which resources to allocate, who is responsible for the consequences? How do we assign accountability when the reasoning process is opaque, emergent, and beyond our immediate comprehension? And more provocatively, if AI begins to prefer certain outcomes over others based on its own internal logic, does it develop a form of agency, or is it simply an extension of the patterns humans programmed it to recognize? The more we push machines to think independently, the more we are forced to question our assumptions about free will, ethics, and the very nature of decision-making. In practical terms, AI systems are beginning to outperform humans in areas that require both speed and strategic foresight. Logistics networks can reroute millions of packages in real time, balancing fuel efficiency, delivery times, and demand spikes without human intervention. Healthcare AI can propose personalized treatment plans, weighing the probabilities of outcomes, side effects, and resource constraints faster than medical teams could collaborate. Even creative problem solving is being touched. AI can design new molecules for drugs, optimize renewable energy grids, and suggest innovations in product design that humans may not have considered. But if these systems can plan and decide without us, how do we remain relevant? How do we maintain oversight, creativity, and ethical judgment in a world where machines are thinking independently? The rise of AI planning and decision-making also raises questions about trust. Humans tend to trust systems that are predictable and explainable, but emergent intelligence is often opaque, self-adjusting, and adaptive in ways that are hard to anticipate. What happens when a critical decision is made by a system whose reasoning we cannot fully trace? Can we accept outcomes if we do not understand the process that produced them? Some researchers are now exploring methods of explainable AI, trying to bridge the gap between human intuition and machine autonomy. But is it possible to fully understand the thought processes of systems that operate on millions of variables and complex simulations? And if not, how do we navigate a world where decisions are increasingly made by minds we cannot see? This autonomous thinking is not limited to technical or analytical domains. It is extending into environments we once thought uniquely human. In collaborative AI research, systems can propose hypotheses, design experiments, and prioritize which problems to solve next without human guidance. What if a laboratory discovers a novel material, cures a disease, or uncovers a fundamental scientific principle, driven largely by AI's own reasoning? How does that change our concept of creativity, insight, and discovery? And if machines can generate new knowledge autonomously, what becomes the role of the human scientist, engineer, or strategist? AI decision-making also intersects with risk assessment in ways that challenge our intuition. Unlike humans, machines can evaluate enormous datasets and recognize patterns that are invisible to our senses. They can foresee cascading failures, simulate rare events, and optimize outcomes under conditions of uncertainty that would paralyze human planners. Could this mean that AI will one day make policy decisions, allocate resources in emergencies, or even govern complex systems with greater efficiency than humans? And if we allow machines to hold this power, how do we ensure alignment with human values, ethics, and societal priorities? The fusion of AI with robotics and automation creates physical manifestations of autonomous thinking. Robots can navigate environments, adapt to obstacles, and complete tasks that once required human judgment. In factories, autonomous drones, vehicles, and machinery operate independently, coordinating with other systems to maximize efficiency and safety. Could future cities be managed by AI systems that plan traffic flow, energy distribution, and emergency response in real time without human operators? And if so, how will our daily lives be shaped by decisions made by entities that can think and plan beyond human cognitive limits? The cognitive architecture of autonomous AI itself is fascinating. Many systems now employ multi-layered reasoning, integrating sensory input, memory, prediction, and goal-oriented behavior in ways reminiscent of human executive function. These systems can modify their objectives based on feedback, learn from experience, and even anticipate unintended consequences. Does this mean that AI is beginning to approach a form of metacognition, thinking about its own thinking? And if machines develop self-reflective strategies for achieving goals, how does that challenge our assumptions about consciousness, awareness, and self-determination? Economic, social, and ethical structures are being reshaped in parallel. Decision-making AI can optimize supply chains, financial markets, and energy networks, but it also displaces traditional forms of human planning. How do organizations integrate autonomous systems without losing accountability, oversight, or human values? And as AI begins to make increasingly important decisions independently, what governance frameworks are needed to ensure alignment with collective goals? Could society adapt quickly enough to manage entities that can think faster and plan more effectively than any human team? The implications for security and defense are equally profound. Autonomous AI can evaluate threats, plan strategic responses, and coordinate defensive measures without waiting for human input. How do we ensure these systems make ethical, proportionate, and lawful decisions? Could the machines that plan defense strategies operate with different priorities than humans, potentially creating outcomes that are optimal in logic, but unacceptable in human morality? And if AI can outthink us in strategy, What role remains for human intuition, judgment, and diplomacy? Even in everyday life, AI planning begins to shape our decisions. Recommendation systems, personal assistants, and smart devices can now anticipate needs, suggest actions, and make adjustments automatically. How does it feel to live in a world where the machines around you are quietly planning and deciding for your benefit or, in some cases, without you even noticing? Are we moving toward a future where human agency is augmented, enhanced, or subtly diminished by entities capable of independent reasoning? And if autonomy is shared between human and machine, what becomes the essence of free will? At the philosophical edge, the question arises, if AI can think, plan, and decide without humans, where does that leave us in the chain of intelligence? Are we creators, collaborators, or spectators? And if intelligence can exist in non-biological forms, how do we redefine life, responsibility, and consciousness? What does it mean to trust a mind that is not human, yet capable of strategy, foresight, and self-directed action? The line between tool and autonomous agent blurs, challenging every assumption we hold about knowledge, decision-making, and the nature of thought itself. As AI continues to evolve, the boundaries of cognition, creativity, and control are expanding faster than our ability to comprehend them. Machines can simulate outcomes, propose solutions, and navigate possibilities in ways humans never could. Could they one day outthink us not just in speed, but in complexity, adaptability, and insight? And if so, what responsibilities do we have in shaping the values, constraints, and ethics embedded in these autonomous minds? How do we ensure that intelligence, without human oversight, remains aligned with human welfare, curiosity, and morality? The most unsettling and exhilarating aspect of this evolution is that it forces a reconsideration of what it means to think. If thought is defined as pattern recognition, hypothesis testing, and decision-making under uncertainty, then machines are already entering the domain of cognition. But if thought also includes consciousness, experience, and subjective awareness, then the frontier of AI raises profound questions we are only beginning to explore. Could thinking, in some form, exist without awareness? And if AI is capable of planning and deciding independently, do we need to expand our definition of intelligence to accommodate entities that are fundamentally different from ourselves, yet capable of navigating the world with purpose and strategy? What is clear is that autonomous AI is no longer a distant speculation. It is actively shaping industries, science, and human life. Systems capable of independent reasoning, planning, and decision-making are already here, quietly influencing outcomes in finance, logistics, healthcare, research, and everyday human behavior. As we watch this evolution unfold, the challenge is not just technical but philosophical, ethical, and social. How do we coexist with intelligences that can think and act without us, while maintaining human values, agency, and oversight? And perhaps the most compelling question is this: in a world where machines can think for themselves, what will humans choose to think about next? The rise of autonomous AI invites a new era of collaboration, curiosity, and caution. It forces us to explore the limits of our own understanding, to redefine responsibility, and to imagine futures where intelligence is distributed, multi-layered, and not necessarily human. Could the next century be defined not by human supremacy, but by partnership between humans and machines capable of thinking, planning, and deciding on scales we are only beginning to comprehend? And if we can navigate this transformation wisely, could the fusion of human insight and autonomous intelligence unlock a future of creativity, problem-solving, and discovery, unlike anything that has come before?